Greetings. It is I, the Big Bad Evil GM, and I am returned. And I have important news for you all today. Something you could not possibly have foreseen. I cut my hair. On to the actual topic of the video. Today we are going to be talking about Katapofos, the star at the center of my setting, the Light of Worlds. Now, today we'll be talking about a brief history of Katapofos, the most predominant species of Katapofos, and by most predominant I mean the only species. It is a star, after all. It is quite hard for most things to live anywhere, whether it's at its core or its surface. They're very hot. And we will also be talking about the constellations that dwell upon these areas, or more accurately, rule sections of Katapofos. The only viable sections at which any creature that is not a Solian could live. So, let us begin. Katapofos has essentially no prehistory other than a large confluence of magical energy versus nuclear energy in the real world, causing a massive explosion of a constantly igniting ball of radiant fire. This ball of radiant fire also did not keep track of time until beings known as the Solians emerged. Now, these creatures only vaguely kept track of time in the sense that, oh, look, there is another Solian. I am older than you. That is their sense up until the birth of the Temelik on the other worlds, which had previously been slag and ice and fire, etc. Suddenly, these Temelik came into being, these elemental beings. Now back to Solians. Solians are psionic beings, and when they first appeared, they lived in a symbiotic relationship with each other, feeding upon each other's positive emotions. When the Temelik appeared, they found out they could feed on the emotions of any creature, but when they fed on the emotions of something that was not a Solian, they began to take on that creature's appearance to a certain extent. So if an individual were to feed upon a Gradagos with the appearance of a large bull-like appearance, they may develop horns. If they were to feed upon a salamander, they may develop scaled skin, etc., etc. And so this continued for some time. And then the other mortal races began emerging, and these peoples were also unique in their own rights. And just a thing to note, Solians can also feed on essentially any animal and their positive emotions, because animals feel emotions too. That's a thing that a lot of humans tend to ignore with anything that isn't a pet, but moving on, not going to make any social commentary about that. So, Solians take on appearance of all of these different creatures and form it into an amalgamation born of the positive energy of those creatures. As more and more of these creatures appeared, roughly around the time that the Jotun, the giants, whatever you want to call them, became predominant on mode, what is currently known as foreign, a group of them, led by Virtuous, set off to observe other stars that they saw in the sky to find out what was essentially anything else that was out there. Now, a lot of these Solians returned, so several hundred of them left on this migration, is what Virtuous called it. And then many of them came back. These ones were changed. They had inverted in a way, and they became known by the celestial word for starved. They became known as Skoteni. Now, the Skoteni never really explained to the Solians what caused this change, but they did end up taking a vigil out at the edge of the Katapofos system, as though they were afraid of something, whether it be their once kin the ire and disdain of their once kin, or something from beyond the stars. The Solians were not entirely aware, and I will discuss that more during the Skoteni episode. But they had changed into something else. The Solians, the ones that were left after the migration, had formed into 7 houses, each led by the most powerful constellation of each of those houses. So the first of those houses is the House of Radiance, a house made up of Solians who did not wish to feed upon other creatures, viewing it as a form of parasitism rather than the symbiotic relationship that they had with each other. These Solians take on humanoid forms, but their humanoid forms are forged out of the light that they are still made of. They once basically occupied forms of balls of light, and now they occupy humanoid forms of light that essentially act for convenience sake. These Solians are led by Luxifor, and that is the House of Radiance in the city Radiance, made of silver. Next, we have the second house, the House of Freedom, once led by Libertas, but when he left, Eustate took over. Eustate is much more relaxed in his city of turquoise, and his people feed on specifically feelings of curiosity and liberation, and seek to encourage those emotions in mortals that they come across, commonly by such things as encouraging the rebellion against a tyrant, or other such things, possibly even assisting in such endeavors. Now, in the modern day, most Solians outside of members from the House of Jubilation, House of Love, do not interact with most mortals, but they will choose specific individuals to act on the other worlds for them, communicating with them. That is essentially my settings version of the Azamar. Not those with celestial blood, but those that Celestials have chosen to talk through, or more accurately, Solians have chosen to talk through. After that, we have the third house, the House of Charity, ruled by Chione. This is a house that feeds on emotions such as kindness and generosity, encouraging such wherever they may go, in their city of glass. Chione is like all of the Virtuous, the name of the Pantheon of Constellations that rule Katapofos. They are all fairly powerful as far as constellations go. I feel like that should be mentioned. After that, we have Kontakos, in his city of gold, in the House of Jubilation, the City of Jubilation, one of the few that will invite mortal beings into their city. They are essentially a bunch of party animals, feeding upon feelings of joy and other such very extreme positive emotions. They like to celebrate life as all it is. After that, we have Fidelis, the Relief. They feed upon contentment and relaxation and other similar feelings. They live in a city made out of this crystal quartz that will change color, and I just like the idea of a bunch of different quartzes forming the buildings of their cities. I'm fairly certain I mentioned Kontakos as a city made of gold, but it is made of gold. I may have forgotten, so yeah. After that, we have Imora and the City of Love made of diamonds. Now, similar to Kontakos, they feed upon very, very positive emotions. More specifically, the people of Imora feed on affection and lust and compassion. They feed upon those emotions, and as well as adoration. and they will also often invite specific mortals as consorts amongst the Celestials. Ooh, excuse me. After that, we have Viator, the constellation of justice in the city of justice made of iron. Viator's people feed upon feelings of bravery and self-righteousness and encourage such. They despise injustice and anything that will allow them to feed upon those proper righteous indignation, anything like that, they will work their hardest towards through their agents. In addition, there is one other constellation that calls this place home. Specifically, he lives in Viator City. This is Otigos, the guardian of light, the eldest child that was brought by the dragon Foreni before she fell from beyond the void onto the planet of Forin. Now, Otigos, well, he does have one elder brother, but that elder brother was slain by another draconic constellation who stole Adamantrix's stars. Otigos is rightfully very upset about that, and works in tandem with Viator as a close compatriot to fight against injustice, and is extremely motivated to help solve such problems. Otigos will be the first of very many draconic constellations, but he is the second eldest living of the draconic constellations. Necros will be talked about in the Rings of Skoteni episode, and in that episode we will talk slightly more about his specific lore, and if you want to know all of Necros' lore, I may or may not make specific videos about each of the constellations, if anyone wants to see that. Anyways, that has been the video upon Katapofos, and if you wish to see any more of this content, not comment, commenting is what you should be doing. If you want to see more of this, also liking and subscribing if you feel like it. I'm gonna be honest, I'm making these videos more for fun and less for attention, and also to organize my thoughts as I am writing a full guide for this setting, and that's more of a thing to motivate me to. These videos motivate me to get my words onto paper, because then I'm like, well, if I plan to make this video in the next week, then I have to get these words onto paper. And that's been helping with my writing process. And so, yeah, if you do like these videos, like, comment, subscribe, etc. Everybody asks it. Everybody will forever ask it. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time, should you wish to watch again. Ta-ta.